I'm Quincy Mutter from MMA.ca. I'm sitting here with Antonio Carvalho, who's preparing for his fight in UFC 158 this weekend. So, Antonio, I know you just finished your training camp, so how are you feeling?
Well, as good as you get after a training camp. I'm really tired, but it's a good tired. It just means that I'm ready to peak, and I just need to relax for the week and make sure that I just focus on my game and what I'm going to do. And hopefully everything, turns out in my favor.
I know you posted on your Facebook earlier this week that you felt that you'd been a bit distant through camp and you are a bit more tired than normal. Is that as a result of your training camp? Did something change, or?
Not the actual training. I mean, besides I do travel a bit more now than I usually do. Just to get together with a lot of different fighters from different gyms. And iron sharpens iron, right? So you got to go out and make sure you train with the best guys that you can find. And that's what I've had to do. I've had to leave my little area here and go and find other training partners. So that's been one thing. But realistically for me, it's been just my whole lifestyle has changed. I have a girlfriend, I have a house, I have a dog, I have a car, I have all these things that I never had before. I just lived my life before where I just wanted to train and teach and compete in martial arts, and that's all I used to do. So now I have I guess what people consider a normal life at the same time, and that's what I'm actually having a bit of trouble because, I'm so tired during my camp. I come home and that energy comes home as well, right? My girlfriend also works very hard, she's very tired, so during peak weeks it was difficult, so that was kind of what I was referring to in that message, more or less. And a lot of people close to me, people often were talking to me, and maybe I wasn't quite there, and I forget things. So lots of things in it. I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just a lot of things happening at the same time. I'm just learning to do it. That's good.
It's easy to let something so huge, martial arts, which has always been a big part of your life over the last 10 plus years, it's easy to let that take over.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, this sport, it's a selfish sport. You have to be a bit selfish. And I try not to be outside of my camp, but during my camp, I have to be a little bit selfish sometimes. Sometimes it has to be more about me, even though I don't like that about it. But very lucky that the guys here at the gym are understanding of that, and they would put in their time to help me every time I go here, so I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I understand you've been with Bruckmann for quite some time now. I know you guys started together. Had he already done martial arts, or did you both get into it together?
Yeah, he was already doing judo and jiu-jitsu at the time, mostly judo actually. I met him in college, and he invited me to the gym, and I didn't think anything of it. I was still trying to play soccer and doing my own thing. Trying to find my way, trying to find something that I was passionate about. I thought I was passionate about soccer, and I lost that passion. There's a whole other story on that. But when that happened, I finally decided, I'm going to take him up on the offer, come into the gym and got on the mats, and like a lot of people, they get on the mats and they realize, it's for them, it's something they want to do for the rest of their lives, and I didn't know whether I was going to become a professional. I just thought that this is my passion, this is what I do a lot, like to.
Did Bruckmann have a gym back then?
No, it was an old judo club, no longer exists, unfortunately. Just, at the time, there wasn't, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and all these different gyms. It was still very separated. We're talking 99, 2000. And it was, fairly underground. Sport was not on pay-per-view. UFC was not what it was. Lots of things, and it was just underground for us. And we just used to go around and train at as many different gyms. We train with as many different styles as possible, which was kind of not the thing back then, I guess. We were doing everybody kickboxing, boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. We're doing everything. We're trying to put it all together. We didn't know what the hell we were doing, but we were trying to put it all together, and it took a lot of years and a lot of mistakes to finally sort of figure out a formula, and it's still working on it to this day.
I understand you're a black belt in Shotokan, right?
Actually, yeah, that's I'm not. It's something that does come up often because I do implement Shotokan techniques. My original instructor was a Shotokan black belt. He's a several-time national champion. I trained with a lot of the provincial and national champions in Shotokan, so I was more or less sparring with them, but I didn't actually go through the system. But what I used in my fights often was the Shotokan style, so I was actually using it. This is before Yoji Mashita came along, and I was already doing that kind of bouncy style, the timing-based style, and my coach used to tell me that I, technically was a black belt already in karate, just I need to know all the forms and the katas and things like that, but I was implementing actual Shotokan techniques in the ring or cage.
Which, of course, is very unusual in a sport which lately has been dominated mostly by Muay Thai.
Absolutely, yeah.
So do you feel that has given you an edge over standard Muay Thai or boxing striking styles?
I think it's just added to it. I think you got to do everything. I mean, I have a Muay Thai coach. I have a boxing coach. I have coaches for everything. So it certainly added a certain uniqueness to my striking at the time. Because I mean, if you heard Shotokan karate, they would have said that doesn't work. It's ineffective. And the truth is, they're great athletes in every sport. And if you just implement it properly, and of course, you got to still learn your Brazilian jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and everything else. And you can take certain techniques or certain strategies from those systems and implement them properly, within your own frame, right, within your own body type. Diaz has obviously done that very well, and to a certain degree I've used it, and I've also adapted it. I've also failed miserably using some of it, so it happens, but you adapt, and I think nowadays it's less about the style. I think it's important to learn the styles very well. And this is the one thing I don't like about mixed martial arts nowadays. Everyone assumes that you can just go to a mixed martial arts gym and then learn everything. I think you have to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You should go to wrestling classes. You should go to Muay Thai. You should go to boxing. You should understand these systems in and out to be able to pick and choose what's going to work for you. It's going to be different for everyone. So my goal was always to become the most knowledgeable as I could in every system and then try to put it all together. So that's kind of how I do it. I think everyone thinks that guys like GSV all of a sudden mixed martial arts, he's a Gurkhan black belt, he wrestles, does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he's a black belt now. He's learned these systems in and out in order to become effective, and I think that's what everyone should do. Everyone thinks that you should just go and train mixed martial arts. There's always some sort of gap. So
I feel like that's come along with the popularization of the sport, where people see it as one single sport, mixed martial arts, and they forget that it is meant to be a mixing of martial arts.
Yeah.
They don't see the difference between the two.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, you have to have some sort of base style, something that you feed off of, whether it's wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing. If you're a kickboxer, you want to be effective, well, you got to learn how to wrestle defense on the ground, so you got to learn your defenses on jiu-jitsu on the ground, or whatever grappling system. There's a lot of different grappling systems that can be used effectively. But it's really covering your weaknesses to make sure you get to your strengths, and it's still very prevalent in the sport, but the guys that are the best are the guys that are capable of mixing everything together and finding what works for them.
I understand that's how you got your nickname, was you were doing judo and started doing jiu-jitsu, right? Your instructor said something along the lines of why you swim with the ducks, was really sore.
Right, yeah, exactly. And again, that was one of those comments that was a fairly ignorant comment to me, and I never understood it. And hence my response was, well, if you're the eagle, I'm trying to beat the duck. And that's how it's done.
Yeah. All right. So, are you excited to be fighting in your home country?
Sure. It's always exciting. It could also be stressful because there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more responsibility, not just as far as fighting at home, but just in general, everyone around me. I have to perform more, I guess, and there's a lot more pressure. So sometimes it's, I don't mind getting on a plane and going and fight somewhere else because there's no pressure. I like to just get on the plane, make sure I make my weight, and then I go and compete and do what I love. But out here it's different. People looking for tickets and places to be, and then it's stuff that especially at this point in my camp, I'm so tired, and I feel bad that I can't help anyone, but I'll always try to send people in the right direction. But it does become difficult for sure.
So do you feel that the pressure is something that you feed off of, and that's going to help push you towards this victory, or do you think it's something that makes it more difficult going into a fight?
I guess that would depend on how I react that night. So I'd like to think that I can sort of control my emotions and be able to go in there and perform. And the truth is, if I've ever failed, it's because something along the lines didn't work, and a lot of times it is a mental thing. It's not even a physical thing. You go in there is a bit of doubt, there is a bit of something. always something, maybe just something in your life that's going on that could affect that. You know, fighting is one of those things where sometimes it's just that person's day. You know, like that's why I'm always very grateful when I win, because it's, for me, I'm not looking at it like, I'm better than this guy. I was just better that one night. And, you know, for whatever reason, everything worked out better for me that night, and that's why I was the winner, and that's why I'm very grateful when I win. And if I lose, well, it's just the way it is too. I understand that the other guy was the better guy, and I got to come back and prove.
Well, let's hope that you're the better man on Saturday night. I look forward to seeing it.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for speaking with me.
Thank you.
All right.